received an email recently from a Connecting Point viewer that stated the mastermind behind the terrible school massacre at Sandy Hook had been diagnosed with Asperger Syndrome, according to news reports and even a Frontline investigation on PBS. The viewer was concerned that people not familiar with Asperger's would think that was the reason for this shooting rampage that left 20 children and 6 teachers dead. Well, the viewer brought up a good point. What do we know about Asperger's? How can those diagnosed with it be truly helped instead of feeling alienated from society? Dr. Bruce Waslick from the Psychiatry Department at Baystate Medical Center deals specifically with children and adolescents and is here to explain as well as answer some thought-provoking questions that we received on Facebook and via email from viewers when we presented this question online. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining me today. Let's start off with talk about Asperger syndrome in general. Kind of explain it to us because I don't think it's as readily known. People really don't know what it is.
Okay, Asperger syndrome is considered a pervasive developmental disorder. So we've always considered it in the autism spectrum. So Asperger syndrome really is a form of autism. Often the kids with Asperger syndrome have certain strengths that some kids with autism don't have. So that includes language, ability to make conversation, use language more effectively. A lot of the kids are bright. They are capable of learning and actually doing well and sometimes excelling in certain areas. So whereas some of the kids with autism are more globally affected, the Asperger's syndrome kids more affected in terms of their ability to function socially and also in terms of relationship development.
Correct. So they have strengths and they have weaknesses as well. Exactly. And the weaknesses, let's talk about those specifically. Social interaction and, would you say, emotions, feelings, or how to express them?
So two major components. One is social communication, ability to kind of make interactions with other kids, make relationships, make friends, have long-standing relationships. Also trying to understand how the social world functions, how to function within a family, how to function in a classroom, how to function out on the playground with other kids. It just often, the sort of unspoken rules of social development just come difficult, hard for them to recognize, hard for them to learn. The other main component is that they often have a restricted range of interests, get obsessively fascinated with certain things and become experts, and want to spend all their time thinking or involved with activities related to their preferential activity, sometimes to the exclusion of other things like making friends or going to school or doing their homework or things like that. Those are the two main features.
When I brought this up on social media, I was astounded at the responses that I got from parents that said, yes, I have questions about Asperger's or my child is dealing with that. But then also there's this misconception that, because somebody, for instance, like the shooter behind Sandy Hook was diagnosed with Asperger's, that there's a strong correlation to violence, and that's not the case at all.
No, in fact, I would make the following statement. I think this is accurate, that kids with Asperger syndrome are much more likely to be the victims of violence as opposed to the perpetrators of violence. The kid in Newtown, I think, was an outlier, very unusual sort of situation. Most kids with Asperger syndrome are not inherently aggressive or violent.
So we had some questions that came up from parents that had children dealing with Asperger's. And we have a couple questions. I want to leave the names anonymous because this was truly a very sensitive topic because these parents are truly struggling with figuring out how to help their children the best way they can. The one question, what happens if the child asks you, Mommy, why am I not like the other kids? Why can't I make friends?
I tell parents, tell them that everybody's a unique individual and everybody has certain things that they're really good at and certain things they learn just by intuition and others have more trouble. So some kids are natural athletes, some kids are naturally social, some kids struggle in those particular areas. So it really is a matter of sort of playing up the kid's strengths. Every parent can find things about their kids that they're really good at, highlight the strengths, talk about differences as opposed to disabilities, and also that kids are young, they're growing, they're learning. If they're not so good at something at this point in time, things might be different a year or two from now. So make sure the kids feel hopeful. They might have to put their minds to it a little bit more in terms of making friends or making relationships, but keep an optimistic attitude with them.
Another question we received, if you have another child in the home who does not have Asperger's, and this child sees how the other one behaves and the attention that they get because or that they said the special attention or treatment they get, how do you explain to them that they're different and they're just not acting out to get that attention?
Most kids with autism symptoms, they're not in control of it. You know, they don't do it on purpose. Often they're overwhelmed with situations that they can't figure out, they can't understand. I think having some kind of language or discussion with the other kids that their brother or sister is struggling with certain issues, they're not doing it on purpose. This isn't about getting attention in the vast majority of cases. It's about kids trying to figure out how to learn, how to be in the family, how to make relationships. So highlight that and say, again, everybody's different, everybody's a work in progress. Your brother or sister is growing, and hopefully he or she will figure it out someday.
Now, one of the parents had mentioned that their child couldn't make friends at school. Another parent mentioned that their child can make friends at school, but treats their siblings much differently and much more harshly than the friends. So it almost seems as if there's that difference in how they treat their friends and their own siblings.
Right.
Is that common, or how would you explain
Different
that?
environments pose different challenges, so that sometimes kids are more successful in a classroom setting which is very structured. You know, they know what to do, they know what they're supposed to be doing, and the kids are all the same age, they might have things in common, they can find things to talk about like their school activities. That environment may be very different than at home, dealing with kids who are a lot younger, a lot older. There's a lot of more emotional intensity in a family relationship. There might be a little bit of sibling rivalry, sibling jealousy, and trying to figure out how to deal with those powerful feelings. So kids do act differently in different settings. Some kids are fine at home and have trouble at school. Sometimes kids are having no difficulty at school and having more trouble at home. So everybody's individual and everybody's unique. So trying to figure out an individual's strengths and weaknesses in different environments is also important.
And then also they were asking, another question we received, what kinds of programs or support is out there for children and their parents?
Well, thank goodness there's increasing support. So people, professionals, doctors, teachers, therapists are learning more and more about autism, Asperger Syndrome. There's a global increase in awareness about the problems that kids with autism have in the United States. So most teachers, school counselors, guidance counselors, primary care doctors, pediatricians can direct families to get appropriate evaluations, appropriate interventions. Sometimes there's things that are needed at school to help kids function at their best, special supports at school that schools can provide and are increasingly providing for kids and families. And there are mental health resources in the community. There are agencies that offer help to kids dealing with autism. So there's a variety of agencies. Even in Western Massachusetts, we have a lot of agencies, and the services are increasing every day. So parents shouldn't feel alone. They have questions. Turn to trusted professionals in their environment, either at school or in the healthcare system, to try to get the kids appropriately evaluated and get them the services that they need.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Bruce Waslick.
Happy to be here.